It's time, Nekias, long overdue. Go ahead and talk about the Red Hot Charlotte Hornets.
The Red Hot Charlotte Hornets, indeed. So to kind of lay out the full picture, as of recording, they're 30-31. They're 10th in the Eastern Conference right now. Have a pretty hefty lead over the Milwaukee Bucks, who we're also going to talk about a little bit later in the show, because what a return for Giannis in that game. But in the calendar year of 2026, Steve, the Hornets haven't been the middling team that their overall record would exemplify. They haven't been a good team. You could argue they haven't even just been a great team. They have been phenomenal on both ends of the floor, Steve. They are 19-9 in 2026. They have the best net rating, not in the division, not in the Eastern Conference, in the NBA overall, with a nearly 30-game sample to talk about. Per cleaning the glass, they're first in offense, they're fifth in defense, they're first in net rating. They're currently riding a 4-game winning streak. And in those 4 games, it's a 133.1 offensive rating and a 106.9 defensive rating, which is completely absurd for them. And so, I've just been trying to, one, soak in what the Hornets have been doing, because they have just been playing well. They've been getting a bunch of wins. You go back to early January, where they have 2 separate games against the Utah Jazz and the Philadelphia 76ers, where they hold a 50-point lead. It's the first time in franchise history they are able to do that twice, not only in the same season, but in the same month. So, that's absurd in and of itself. But even as you're kind of tracking the Hornets on this run early in January, it's okay, they've been playing better. The defense seems more sound. We're going to get into specifics a little bit later. Defense playing more sound. You get to see more of LaMelo plus Kon Knueppel plus Brandon Miller together. And it's okay, that offense is electric. This is cool. But the Utah game kind of skews the numbers. Then the Sixers game kind of skews the numbers. But now as we record, Steve, again, 19-9, 13 of their 19 wins have been by double digits. You don't trip into that kind of, not just winning, but that kind of dominance while winning. And then even when you get into their losses, if you remember, beginning of the month, it was basically 3 straight clutch losses for them, 3 straight game winning losses to them. They lose by 1 to Milwaukee in a game where they pretty much don't have their center rotation. No Musa Diabate, no Ryan Kalkbrenner. They just signed PJ Hall to kind of fill in some front court minutes. Giannis has 30, 10, and 5 in that game, and he ends up getting the game winner off of a lob from KPJ. Then you get the back-to-back losses to Toronto, where Emmanuel quickly knocks down his 3 at the buzzer. The next day, they have a lead against the Indiana Pacers. They blow it with some late-game nonsense. LaMelo gets funny in transition, etc. You end up getting the Pascal Siakam layup, and then they turn the ball over directly after giving up that basket. And so, those are 3 of your losses. The only double-digit loss that they have suffered in the year of 2026 was to the Golden State Warriors. And that's, I think, January 17th. So, this has just firmly been, we are beating you and beating you soundly. If we do lose to you, it's likely going down to the wire in some capacity. And so I'm just, on a baseline level, I am impressed with the Hornets having this prolonged stretch of play, considering where they've been the last 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10 years. And so for them to kind of, even among just the general NBA community, go from LOL Hornets to, hey, they got the best net rating in basketball, and they've had that for 2.5 months. I just love that portion of the program. This has just been a great story. Before getting into more particulars of how they've been this good, I'm just glad that the area is energized the way that it is, and that they're playing this level of basketball.
Well, I think this is one of those things when it comes to basketball where things are not always going to be linear. No one kind of saw Charlotte having that 9-game win streak and then maintaining the belief on what they found during that win streak. And I think a lot of things have come together. The mindset and the coaching philosophy of Coach Lee has kind of just infiltrated the team, and everyone's kind of bought in. And now that you have a little bit more success, you see them having that belief every single night when they play. Brandon Miller, I think, has been outstanding during the stretch for the most part. So his growth has been great. But you got to remember, Kon Knueppel added a whole different layer to this early on in the season. And his consistency was really key for them as far as not only being able to shoot the ball, but we can use him as a screener. He can kind of attack and make plays. We can use him off ball. So you have that. You layer in Brandon Miller now understanding, and now LaMelo Ball I don't think he gets enough credit. Everyone had a whole bunch of discussion about LaMelo Ball early in the season, about where he should go, what he is, what he's not. And you look at the minute count, it's lower than usual because they're trying to preserve him. But at the same time, he's consistently kind of just making the right plays, making the right reads. And there's a team in Charlotte that competes on the defensive end. Are they a perfect defensive team? No. Is it all schematic? No. But they're going to give the effort every single night. And when they get stops, they get out and run. It makes it easier for them. In the half court, they're able to kind of just have a better flow, which I think has been key because we have, it's not just LaMelo Ball pick and roll or LaMelo Ball dribble handoffs, make a play. Kon Knueppel is involved in so many different actions. Brandon Miller is involved in so many different actions. If our first action doesn't work, we can flow to one of those other people. And so I think that's just been a key part for Charlotte, especially in that starting lineup, which I feel like that starting lineup has been a really key part of their success. Like if you have Diabate, Miller, you have Kon Knueppel, Melo Ball playing at such a high level, everything kind of just makes more sense. And now the bench can feel the energy. Everyone can play different, and Charlotte's traditionally been a hotbed in the NBA. You go back and look at the 90s tape and listen to how loud that Coliseum was. It's nice to see the energy back for the Hornets. And it's nice to see the occasions when, hey, we might mix in some zone for Charlotte. We might mix in some man. We might attack on the other end. But it's been fun to watch the Hornets grow.
It's been very cool. I want to hang on the LaMelo bit for a minute because one of the things I wanted to bring up was it's not like the Hornets have just been the feel-good story. Like they have dealt with some roster adversity this year. Like they've dealt with their own injuries. Again, even going back to that Milwaukee game, they just didn't have their front court. Just as a quick example there. But they've dealt with injuries. LaMelo was dealing with injury stuff again earlier this year. And there's been naturally a lot of conversation around, okay, when he does come back, what does this look like? He was coming off the bench for a little bit. He was starting. Then he moved back to the bench while he was still on the minutes restriction. It's like, okay, why are we doing this with LaMelo? Clearly, you just don't believe in him. Just trade him already. Circles and all that conversation. You zoom out now, Steve. One, LaMelo is just playing incredibly well. It's 19, 5, and 7 for him with solid shooting splits, at least outside the yard, get to the line a little bit more as he's gotten healthier this year. But he's played 51 games as a recording. This is the first time he's eclipsed 50 games since his second year in the league. I think you take that if you are the Charlotte Hornets while understanding we have a plan to ramp this up. It's not always going to be he's going to play 25 minutes a night. And I think around that time where they're trying to figure out the minutes restriction, there were some games where he wasn't closing because of what the minutes restriction was. It was like, okay, well, cool. Let's adjust this. Let's now move him. Let's have him come off the bench. So now we can match these minutes better so he can close things out for us. So for them to figure that out, deal with that, it wasn't always perfect, but that shows a level of problem solving that we generally haven't seen with the Charlotte Hornets over the last decade or so. Or at the very least, we haven't seen that consistently. So I'm glad you brought that part up. And LaMelo has been massively important. The numbers are there. The playmaking is there. You continue to keep eyes on the drives. And then you look at the on-offs, and the Hornets offense is 14 points worse with him off the floor. And they score at best offense in NBA history levels with him on the floor. And again, you zoom out, it's Brandon Miller, who's become more dynamic as a guy that can attack switches, can get downhill a little bit more, has the mid-range scoring in the bag, doesn't mind bombing away from three. His random second or third quarter explosions have been a fun thing to watch over the last couple of months. Obviously, we've talked quite a bit about Kon Knueppel, mostly within his relation to the Rookie of the Year race between him and Cooper Flagg. But even within just the Charlotte context, the drives, the secondary playmaking, the three-point shooting, his use as a screener for both LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller on or off the ball, to your point about the Hornets being able to build at their offensive flow. It has just been, just incredibly difficult to defend, but again, it's been fun. And as you mentioned, their starting lineup a little bit earlier, the starting five of LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Kon Knueppel, Miles Bridges, and Moussa Diabate. They have played 281 minutes together. They have won those 281 minutes by 179 points. That is typo-worthy good. That is not supposed to happen, especially with a team as young as it is, or as young as this starting five is overall. And having that collective energy offensively, and to your earlier point, being able to defend well enough to make this matter. It is a testament to the personnel buying in. Is a testament to the game planning of Charles Lee, as you mentioned. They will sprinkle in some zone if they feel the need to. But a lot of this has been, we're going to switch. We're going to trust our guys to hold up. And then we are going to load the boxes up. We are going to show help. Sometimes it's super early to make sure you can't get to the rim. Sometimes it's going to be flooding you late. So when you have those pickups, you're dealing with a bunch of arms. either way, like it's difficult to gain the same rhythm against the Charlotte Hornets defense as you would have earlier in this year or just in years past. And so do I think the Hornets are like firmly a top 5 defense like they have been in 2026? Like that still feels a bit rich to me. I don't think they're that. But the fact that they've gotten to average overall this year and they have showcased against good teams, like, yeah, we can hold up well enough. We do have collective length 1 through 3, 1 through 4. We have Ryan Kalkbrenner that can contest a whole bunch of shots at the rim when he's in. With Moussa Diabate, we can lean further into the switching. And so you don't have easy advantages to attack. And then we also can just kind of fill these gaps for you to make life difficult. You kind of have to beat us from deep. It is smart game planning for me. And even circling more to the Charles Lee portion of the program, Steve, like them being able to defend at this level, they don't foul. They clean the glass at a very high level, no pun intended. Like they have been routine, like a top 3 defensive rebounding team pretty much all year long. That all points to like solid coaching and a solid understanding of this is what we have to do. These are our non-negotiables. If we do this, we'll put ourselves in position to win, and the Hornets have won quite a bit. Sorry for getting yappy there, but yeah, it's been fun.
It's okay. I figured you may get there. I think the biggest thing for me is you have to look at just the little things offensively for the Hornets, in the sense that Moussa Diabate will always work to flash towards the elbow if things break down in the half court. And I think that's a really important thing. You know, you'll see him kind of just clap his hands, be like, hey, flash, let me get a ball. And we have the random screens for Brandon Miller, for Kon Knueppel being able to empty out a side. I think Brandon Miller's patience in the half court and his driving ability has been showcased and been a good thing for them. Brandon Miller is a screener. Kon Knueppel is a screener, both on and off ball. They just kind of ding you and have more of a purpose offensively during this stretch. We've talked about the defense, but I guess the biggest question now is, okay, for the Charlotte Hornets, right? If we look at this stretch, a lot of good wins. How many teams have they really had the test against? If we're looking at who they've beaten lately, Orlando, Washington, Philly by a lot, Memphis, Dallas, San Antonio, New Orleans, Houston, Atlanta, Washington, Chicago, Indiana, Portland. They got Dallas on Tuesday. Then it's at Boston, against Miami, at Phoenix, at Portland, at Sacramento, at San Antonio. I think we learned some things about the Hornets on this West Coast road trip to a degree. So can they now turn the heat up as they have had success is where my mind goes to. I think firmly they've put themselves in the conversation. They've earned that right. And I think they have a style of play that they believe in and consistently do. And you see that, going to the bench. You mentioned Kalkbrenner, but they added Kobe White. We haven't talked about him yet. And so, being able to have Josh Green, who knows the job, Grant Williams knows the job, that kind of gives you an understanding and a consistency 99 out. How have you felt about White in Charlotte?
Like, it's early, but like you already kind of see the seeds of, I can be a second side attacker here. I add to the 3-point volume. If I need to initiate action, I can. So like, I've enjoyed that portion. Like, I'm glad you brought up the name of Josh Green and Grant Williams in particular, because like, I think they have been very important ball movers for this group. And honestly, to your overall scheduling point, Steve, I think it is valid to note, like, hey, like all of these wins have not come against like the top 4, top 5 in the league. Like, you have to play who's on your schedule. So it is encouraging to me they beat the teams that they were supposed to, and they have beat a lot of these teams handily. So I think that bodes well. But as you get into this next stretch of games for them, it kind of feeds into the one thing I've been keeping an eye on. As fun as this Charlotte Hornets offense has been, and ultimately how good as it's been this year, and especially within the calendar year 2026, per clean the glass, they are dead last in turnover rate. It hasn't dinged them as much because they have been elite on the offensive glass all year long. Shout out Moussa Diabate, and also like the wings that can get in and crash. But Moussa drives a lot of that. But they've been an elite offensive rebounding team, and they've done a really good job cleaning the glass on the other end. So like, they are still able to win the possession battle overall most nights because of what they're doing on the offensive glass, and because of the fact that they don't foul like that on top of that. You get into Miami and Phoenix and Boston, etc., they will turn you over, and they will turn this into points. And so, like, as they face these more pressurized defenses, are they ready for those particular tests? Can they prove, like, not only can we generate good stuff, we can do so without giving the other team extra possessions on top of that, and like trusting what has been a better transition defense than I would have anticipated with a team this young, and especially what they showed earlier this year. But like, Yeah, man, you're gonna have to like the Boston matchup. I am absolutely circling. Like one, Boston is just incredibly good. They just blasted Milwaukee without Jaylen Brown, without Neemias Queta. They are just one of the best teams, if not the best team of the East, depending on how you feel about it. And they may add Jason Tatum. But with what Boston does,
hold on. Respect Detroit. We literally just did a whole deep dive.
We just did a whole thing on Detroit. I'm just saying, like, I think they have the best point differential in the East Conference right now. I'm saying you can make the argument for Boston. That's more so what I mean. I'm not just stamping them over Detroit overall.
Okay.
That's all I meant. Just understood. Clock that T. I'm just saying you can make the argument, or at least like who's playing better right now. But anyway, my overarching point is that like stylistically, that's a fun matchup. Like Boston has also been an elite offensive rebounding team. They're gonna test the elite defensive rebounding of Charlotte. Like that can be an important swing battle there. Boston doesn't turn the ball over either, and Charlotte, you know, structurally, we're going to switch a bunch, we're going to load up health, etc. They haven't been a super aggressive, we are blitzing you, we are forcing a bunch of turnovers and juicing our transition attack that way. Does that flip at all? Do they decide to put two on the ball against anyone in that matchup? So, like, I just have my eyes on that one. That should be a really fun battle. Also, this is the Charles Lee revenge game. He was on Boston staff, so that should be a fun one. But yeah, I've been super impressed with what the Hornets have put together.
I just don't know if that's revenge. He left to coach his team. That's kind of, I took an opportunity. Thank you for everything. Would like to beat you, but I don't think it's revenge. I mean, I think one of these things when you have teams that get hot late in the year, right? It's a positive for them. But now, what does the league do to respond? Is it switching? Is it sagging off? Is it going under? You know, because a lot of, is it trying to mess up your flow, be physical, take away your movement? Who's going to poke at them and kind of bring them back into the box? And the other portion of it is, let's say they are able to make the playoffs. They play Detroit in the first round, right? Detroit's, well, actually, now this landed in my brain. That might need to happen based on the last time we saw these two teams play. I forgot about that for 2 seconds. But okay, who's going to be physical with them? Like, what is the solve? Like, that's where it gets pretty interesting for me. And so I'm with you. I wanted to indulge in the Hornets.